welcome to another deck video here on the Joey Scarecrow's channel. You're with me, Joe, and somewhere in the background maybe Ollie, and today I'm presenting Bonz playing Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a updated zombie deck for autumn 2022, and it's an interesting time for zombies because we've just had Crystal and Archifibrax banned, and the Dragon Synchro, that name escapes me, which were really kind of important to how the deck played. And so this is a kind of a refresh of the zombie deck. You'll note that we're not playing Solitaire in here, because rather than Unizombie being the key card, and don't get me wrong, it's still one of the best cards in the deck, our main kind of play starter is going to be Gazuki. Yes, Unizombie is good, but Gazuki can be a little bit better. Its play in tandem with things like Glow Up Bloom, which you send Gazuki, use Gazuki to send Glow Up Bloom to give you one of your your tribute monsters to your hand, and then when Gazuki goes to the graveyard, you can then banish a zombie to special summon one of those monsters, and that's where this card comes in. You might not have seen this if you haven't played zombies for a while. Spirido lets you, when it's in your main phase, send a zombie monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. We know how good this is. Essentially, zombies are just regurgitating, trying to send monsters from the deck to the graveyard, and using that to get yourself in the position to send more monsters from the deck to the graveyard. That lets you unlock your extra deck monsters, and chief among them are things like Yuki Owner, the Link 4, the Zombie Vampire, which is a fantastic new addition. Great artwork, great card. We'll see more of its effect later on in the duels. And the Shirani Sunasanaga and Red Eye Zombie Dragon, Scared for Dragon Felgrand. There's all sorts of great synchros that you can access in here. Fans of Bonz in the anime might ask, why there's things like Emergency Teleport and Psychic cards in here, and even things like the Essence of Vanity. So, multiple reasons for it. Polymerization, a card used by Bonz as well to make fusions, and the fusion he made was Great Mammoth of Goldfine. So this is an actual Bonz card in a modern Bonz deck. The other feature of it is that if you remember the duel, his first introduction against Janochi or Joey, he starts off by playing random monsters like Crass Clown. And obviously clowns very much linked to jesters, which is why we're running Bonz. If you haven't heard the lore of Rizabel, I'd go and look that up. But essentially, I've picked Rizabel in here as an additional target for our 3 copies of Emergency Teleport, alongside... you can run Ash as another copy, but I kind of figure Ghost Spell would be... It's a more fitting hand trap, really, for Bonz. But yeah, look at the lore about how Rizabel turns into this goth character, and imagine Bonz going through the same transformation. That's why Rizabel's in here. Its effect is also brilliant for the deck. So say you've got one of your tuners out, maybe Mad Mauler, Bonz, or Unizombie. You can use Rizabel, adjust the levels of other monsters on the field, including itself, and that gives you power to unlock into your synchros. Things like the Immortal Dragon are fantastic, so you can simply just try and get 6 stars, use it, send a zombie, bam, you're away. General zombie shenanigans are all here. I think we should probably go into the video, into some of the replays to show you how the deck works. Okay, so in this first duel we're going up against Altergeist. As you see, they kick things off typical fashion, summon a monster, 4 face down. And they go and solemn our Foolish Burial, so that's the starter we need, given that we haven't drawn any monsters. Luckily, we're able to get into Zombie World, and then we use the Emergency Teleport to bring out the Bonz, and that has the enough strength to take out the Meluseek. No, sorry, the Silquatus. Fortunately, here they bounce the Bonz, which maybe a bot player does, but a normal player wouldn't. So we normals in the Bonz, so it's not destroyed then by Emergency Teleport at the end of the turn. Here we use Return of the Zombies, so this lets us banish a zombie on the field and special summon another one from the graveyard if they controlled it, and because we've got a zombie world on the field, we can use it on our opponent. So I've used it to bring out, to save myself from being destroyed by the effect of Melee Seek. I brought back the Superters. And then here, I'm fortunate that I top deck into Chang-Chi. Chang-Chi lets us get rid of a zombie monster from our deck to the graveyard, but they solemn strike it. So now they're down to 2100 life points, but they've gained quite a lot of disruption. But unfortunately, they draw into Imperm, and we just draw into an 1800 body, in this case in the form of Necro Banshee, and they just keep bouncing Rivalry of Warlords, despite it not being a very inhibitive card against Altergeist specifically. It's good against a lot of decks, as we'll see, but against Altergeist it's not great because they're all spellcasters. Here, what a timing it was to pull out the Super Poly. It's just fantastic in this deck because it allows us basically to get rid of two of our opponent's monsters at a particular time for a discard of one and bring out this Nethersoul Dragon. And yeah, I'll be it has really nice effects in that it can summon tokens. Here I try and go for Unizombie and they imperm that. So I importantly bring out the Avendread Savior. So knowing that they've used up now their disrupts, they've used up imperm, I can bring out this Savior, attack into their Melee Seek, and when I do, I can discard a zombie from our deck to the graveyard. We know that's how this deck kind of wins. But I don't even need to do that because they're not able to stop the direct attack that comes in from the Drakesoul, and they are defeated. Okay, so in this duel, we're up against kind of Cyber Dragon XC's deck, and we kick things off by bringing out the Immortal Dragon. Got the Bonz, obviously. That lets us discard a zombie from our deck to the graveyard. Necroworld Banshee, obviously, being also the monster we normal summon to allow us to get out Zombie World. So we're in the nice position where we would have had Doom King on the field, but they MST our Zombie World. And what you'll see here is actually Rivalry of Warlords is a particularly good card against this deck, but in this instance they've got two machines and they're able to just smash through with Cyber Dragon Infinity. And so really here we're just trying to hang on in the duel. They've obviously got a good amount of negates against us. They don't press their advantage home enough, I'd say. So they put us down to 2400, but they're basically just keeping this infinity, and because they're unable to summon any more things thanks to Rivalry of Warlords, so it's keeping us in the game until the point that we can use Return of the Zombies. So because we've got Zombie World on the field, we can convert the infinity into the Quick Draw Synchron. So they're still stuck with a machine type, which obviously isn't a machine type, it's a zombie type. So they're not able to play any of their monsters. And now we're able to press over our advantage. We're able to use the Avendread to bring out the Vampire Fascinator, and from there you can easily use your opponent monster to build up into Yukiona, which has the wonderful graveyard. So as soon as a monster special summons from the graveyard, you can negate a card on the field, and you can do that twice per turn. They tried to get rid of the Rivalry of Warlords, which would be great, but unfortunately we got the second, and so they're essentially crippled. So even though we're down to 2400 life points, we're in a great position to win this game. And we'll see kind of basically going through that. We've got now the Vampire Survivor. You can see how this deck generates so much advantage when it's on top. They set a torrential, so that could be a problem. But you'll see in a second why it isn't, because we eventually, they're waiting their time for a bot into torrential, but we mill off Algol Misera. So this, when zombie monsters would be destroyed, we can special summon it through its banished effect to prevent them being destroyed. So the torrential goes nowhere, and we win the game. Okay, so in this duel, we start off with an old school synchro deck. We bring out, we actually bring out the Vampire Sucker here rather than the Immortal Dragon, which is, it's an interesting choice, but that's because we've got this Gozuki, and we can just keep making these plays. So here comes the Immortal Dragon now, and that lets us get rid of Necro Banshee. Got Yukiona. Got rid of Bloom as well, that's on the field, to allow us to get out Jacko Balan. And once Jack-O-Balan has this nice effect where in your opponent's turn you can target a zombie monster in the graveyard and special summon it, and then Jack-O-Balan will appear later on. So you have to temporarily get rid of the Jack-O-Balan, but it will come back to you, providing its effect isn't negated. It goes there, it comes back to me, and I brought back Vampire Sucker to do so. We've got our good combo, Zombie World, Rivalry of Warlords, so my opponent now can only play zombies if he has them. If they don't have them, then they're pretty much screwed. They negate the effect of Unizombie here, which stops a bit of momentum, but it's not too much to here. We bring back the Gozuki. We obviously know what we can do. When it gets sent, we can bring back an Immortal Dragon. We bring out the Great Mammoth of Goldfine. So you actual Bonz fans, you get to see the appearance of a real Bonz monster. We steal their thing, and we convert the 2 stolen things into the zombie vampire. So if you don't know about this, basically if you Xyz summon, you can Xyz summon this card using your opponent's monsters, regardless of what level they are, provided that they do have a level. So there I used 2 4-star monsters to bring this out, and its wonderful effect is mill 5 cards on top of both decks and special summon any card from it. So I actually bring back their Raiden because it's such a great card in a zombie deck. See, we just do so well because we get Doom King and Al Ghul that we could have smashed through a whole bunch of their fight backs if they were able to do it, but they aren't. Okay, so we're starting this duel off against Witchcrafter. They're going first. Our deck is better going first, I'd say, but going second, we're okay. Especially if they don't get too much disruption off, then we're able to claw things back. So in this instance, they've got their 2 continuous things on the field. They've got Imperm face down, and they've got Hain on the field to destroy the first thing that comes out. We've got Instant Fusion and Ready Fusion in our opening hand. So they destroy our first attempt, and they negate the effects of Gozuki, but we're able to Ready Fusion out into the Zombie Warrior. That allows us to go into a Link 2, and we choose the Avenged Savior, and then because Gozuki's been sent to the graveyard, we're able to bring out Necro World Banshee, and that lets us play and protect our zombie world. And this is the wonderful thing of the Avenged Savior. In certain conditions, it's really useful for getting a zombie into the graveyard. So in this instance, I can send this 8-star to the graveyard to reduce the attack of the Witchcrafter. And, you know, it'll reduce it for the rest of the turn. So even though it's not destroyed, thanks to one of these cards, I think, Sky Street, it is then destroyed by the Necro World Banshee. And obviously, the card I discarded, the Doom King, comes back. We're able to switch in and out of the Necro World Banshee with the Gozuki. And this is nice because obviously if it goes to the graveyard, we can do a bit more recycling. They get back a lot of spells. Lightning Storm is an interesting card for them to have in the deck, but they haven't been able to activate it, of course. Thanks to Return of the Zombies, we could use it on this to get rid of Jenny. We've decided not to in this instance. To Return of the Zombies, which we've managed to bring back thanks to its effect. We've milled Al Ghul Mazira, which is super nice with the effect of Avenged Savior when it attacked. So this, when our zombies will be destroyed, we can bring it back. And then we use this effect still with Fascinator, allows us to special summon their monsters, and in this instance, because we've got the Doom King, we can go in with that as our level 8, and their monster as a level 8 into the zombie vampire. That's when we can kick things in. So you can see we've got Chang-Chi. Chang-Chi lets us mill another over with Mizuki, so we can then bring back Savior, go into Vampire Sucker, and now we're in a really good position, you know, to win this game. Because we can also get Doom King back. That lets us draw 1 in their turn. You know, they've got an opportunity to go into Lightning Storm if they didn't have these 2 continuous things, but they played them, we haven't got rid of them, we've got this Supreme Force, and you'll see how we can use the effect of the Zombie Vampire to just smash through. Great Mammoth Goldmine makes another appearance, a proper Bonz card. we've got Yukiono, so we can finally start negating the effects of their Witchcrafters and taking control of them in order to win the game with Vampire Fascinator and Yukiono. Right, I think that's going to be my last video here, but I hope you've enjoyed this Bonz deck. Have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you for a Crystal Beast Crystal Beast structure deck review here on the Jolly Scarecrows channel.